Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I kind of wanted to do a video that I've been wanting to do for a long time now. A lot of people have been requesting this video. It's been something that's kind of been difficult for me to share and kind of difficult for me to put on here because it's something I haven't been doing for a long time. This is my racing. Not many of you guys probably know this because I kind of started doing social media influencing stuff after the fact I was racing, kind of when I was in college. But yeah, so I am a race car driver. This may come as a shock to a lot of you because most people are like, oh, you don't look like a race car driver. I can't believe you drive cars. Like, don't boys drive cars? All that kind of stuff. And yeah, they kind of take one look at me and assume that I would not be a race car driver. But yeah, so I came on here to tell you guys today kind of like my racing story, and for those of you who have been asking me why I'm not racing anymore, why I haven't been the past few years, I kind of wanted to address all that and just kind of, yeah, give you guys a little rundown on my history in racing and what I'm going to be doing next with racing, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. So let's get started. So I just jotted down a couple points I'm going to go over with this story. So my first point is how I started racing. So basically I was 12 years old. Well, actually I was 11 years old at the time when I went to a go-kart track for a birthday party. It was my cousin's birthday party, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have been to K1 Speed or that kind of go-kart track, but this was an outdoor one I went to. So they had the rental karts, and then they had the quicker kind of professional, as you would say, karts. So I did the rental karts the first day and absolutely fell in love with it. I always have driven four-wheelers and snowmobiles because I'm from Colorado and my family, we've always been really into that. So I immediately took a liking to go-karts and I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much. In fact, I made my dad take me back the next day and I drove around again and I just kept getting quicker in the rental go-karts, and then the owner of the track was like, there's actually this other younger boy who has one of those professional karts. He was like 12 years old as well, so that class is called Mini Max. It was for kids. So he's like, okay, you should drive this kart and see how you do. So I got in the go-kart and the Mini Max kart and ended up being quicker than the little boy was, which was funny. And I went around, they could not get me off the track. I was in love with it. It was so much fun, and I begged my dad to get me my own go-kart, and that's how it all started. My first year, I was 12 now at the time, I won the regional championship in Colorado. Well, it was like the western region. But yeah, so my parents knew off the bat that there was talent there, and I just didn't really even care about the talent. I just had so much fun doing it, so I just kept wanting to do it. And so eventually I went from racing Mini-Max and jumped up into Rotax Junior. So I did that for a couple years, and then I was racing nationally at this point, competing against all the boys. There's a couple girls that compete nationally, and I love that. I love when there's other girls to race against because it's just such a male-dominated sport that I think it's really important just for females to be empowered and do stuff that isn't really conventional. So yeah, I was racing against all the little boys and would beat them, and it would just be really funny to see their faces. At this time, they were young at the time, so they would cry sometimes if I would beat them, and it was really funny. But it was just the real passion I had for the sport that just kept driving me to keep doing it in high school. And that's when I started doing shifter karts, and I started doing like the Scusa series, and I did S2. For those of you who don't know, it's like this stock Honda motor that they usually put on motorcycles, and they put them on the shifter karts, and it's like a 6-speed shifter kart with a lever, so it's like sequential. So I started doing that, and that was absolutely my favorite type of karting. It was so much fun, and at this point though, I was racing against full-blown men. I started doing that when I was around 15. I started doing shifter karts, and I was racing against full-blown men. The hardest part for me with the shifter karts was how physical it actually was, and a lot of people think like, oh, you're just turning a wheel, like it's not physical at all, but it is literally the hardest sport I've ever done physically. And I've driven, I'll get to this later, but I've driven multiple cars, I've driven, you know, race cars around a track, and shifter go-karts are the most physical thing I've ever driven. And it's insane how hard it is to just handle all those G-forces, because you're, oh, my speaker just died. Yeah, but just to handle all the G-forces going around the corners, you're pulling 4 Gs sometimes through those corners when you're going that quick. And you know, these carts, these shifter carts can get, if you're on a straightaway for a long time, they can get up almost to 100 miles an hour. So you're pulling all those G-forces through the corner. I'm trying to muscle this cart in. You have to hit a certain weight specification or else you'll go quicker. So there's like a weight limit. And so I had like 70 pounds of lead bolted to my cart, because in high school I was so small. I was like 90 something pounds, like 90 pounds probably. Yeah, so I had all this weight strapped to my cart, and that's even harder to get all that weight through the corner. So I really had to push and work out and train every single day. Eventually, it started getting easier for me, and I started to win more and compete nationally, which was awesome. So after I've been doing go-karts for a long period of time, I decided, hey, I actually want to make this my career. And a lot of people think like, oh my gosh, you want to be a race car driver when you're older, like that's what little kids say, but I actually want to make that my career. So I was like, okay, like let's go into cars now. And so my dad put me through a couple Skip Barber schools. So I went to a 3-day basic, the first thing you do. I went to a 3-day Skip Barber school in Atlanta, on Road Atlanta, and that was so much fun. And there I met my first big sponsor, UFD, and they sponsored me to go to the next 2-day advanced school at Road Atlanta. So I did that, and I did another shootout at Sebring, which was really fun at Skip Barber. So yeah, I did a lot of stuff with Skip Barber, and then I actually tested in USF 2000 a couple times. One of them was Button Willow, and I love that track. It was just really fun to me. And so yeah, that's kind of where I started with open wheel, and then I moved and transitioned into legend cars because my freshman year of college I got the opportunity. Why is there a siren? There's so many sirens at this apartment. I live on a really busy road, so I swear there's like a siren every 10 seconds. Anyway, so I started doing legend cars in college. I got the opportunity to jump in those, and I'll put a photo for you guys who don't know what a legend car is, but they're funky looking like closed cockpit cars. Then I did a racing series in Las Vegas my freshman year of college, and I ended up winning the championship my first season doing it, which was awesome. So that was probably my biggest achievement in racing. I was gonna get into that in another point, but my biggest achievement in racing has to be winning the US Legend Car Series Championship my freshman year of college. And yeah, that was just so awesome because I didn't know how I would do transitioning from only doing open wheel stuff to a closed cockpit. But for me, I actually liked it better because it was less physical, and sometimes it has been a challenge and a roadblock for me to drive open wheel cars because it is so physical. And even though I can work out as much as I can, sometimes I physically will not be as strong as some of these men I race against. So yeah, it was awesome to do that and feel like I could physically compete at the level as everyone else, and I was able to win, so that was awesome. So that was kind of the last racing series I've done, and so now I want to get into why I haven't been racing as much and why there's been some roadblocks in place that have kind of not allowed me to race as much. And it's really tough for me to talk about because racing is my passion, and that's like what I've been, what just happened? That's like what I've been wanting to do, and I haven't been able to do it, so it's kind of tough for me to talk about. But yeah, so after I won that championship, I ran into some serious issues with my manager at the time, and basically I was in contract with them and some issues went down where I did not want to be managed by them anymore. So I was in contract and I wasn't able to drive anything for a full year until the contract ended. It just was this big shit show. mess. And so after I was out of the seat for a full year, and I was in college, so my dad stopped paying for any racing completely. He was like, you need to get your degree, you need to go to school, and I don't resent that at all. Like, it was so much money. Honestly, you need a corporate sponsor to do any sort of racing. And yeah, so he told me I needed to get my degree, and it's been some of the best years of my life, and I'm so happy I got my degree, and I would not take it back for 1 second. But it has been tough because when you are a full-time student, it's hard to dedicate all your time to trying to find sponsorship and going to certain events, because the only way to really get, unless you have good connections, the only way to really get sponsorship is to attend races and events and travel and do all this stuff. And so when you're a full-time student and you have exams and you have to be at class, all my energy was focused on school. And after being out of a car for a year from the contract, it was just tough to kind of get back in the swing of the things. So yeah, that's been the toughest thing for me, just honestly not being able to do what you love. And another thing that's been tough is just people's perceptions about me. And so basically, many of you guys know me as just like a bikini girl. Like, I'm a San Diego State girl, sorority girl with my friends, take bikini photos. That's great. That's a side of me that I am a fun girl with friends. I love to go to the beach. That's awesome. But no one really knows that I am a race car driver, and that's like actually who I am. So that's been probably the toughest part. Like, I don't regret building my brand as like a bikini model, all that. Like, I appreciate everyone following me for that, but I do want to be racing more, and I want people to take that seriously as well. So yeah, I feel like the toughest part has just been having a perception that I'm just some Instagram model, and obviously just not being able to do what I love. So with that being said, now that I've graduated in May, I have a couple opportunities coming up that are really exciting. I am having an EXR race. They have endurance races and they have like sprint races. So I'm gonna be doing a sprint race as a guest driver at the end of September. So it's in a couple weeks. I'm really excited. So that's one opportunity coming up, and there's a couple other potential opportunities I don't want to quite say yet because they're not locked in, and I don't want to jinx anything. But yeah, now that I've graduated, I've put all my time and effort pretty much into looking for racing sponsorship and just trying to find any opportunity I can to get back into racing. So I really am excited about this. Yeah, so I guess another note I put down is, what type of racing do you want to get back into now that you are? So now that I am getting back into racing, I really want to focus on sports cars. So this is kind of a mix-up because usually people that come from go-karting usually do open wheel, and that's what I was doing for a long period of time. I tested in a Formula 4 car last year and I absolutely loved it, but sports car racing I feel like is more fun. The cars are cooler. You can do it for a longer period of time. It's honestly less physically demanding as open wheel cars. And yeah, I feel like you can do it as you get older more. Like there's some sports car drivers that are in their 40s and everything. So I don't know, I just love sports cars and I want to start doing that more. So ideally I would be racing GT4 next season if I find a sponsor. So we'll see. It costs a lot of money, but the potential's there, so we'll see. What is your biggest dream in racing? That's a point I put. So my biggest dream is to race in the Indy 500 and hopefully win it. I mean, that's a big dream, but I feel if I really get back in the swing of things and start racing again, that could be a real thing that could happen. And so yeah, that's my biggest dream. And honestly, my biggest dream is to just be able to race cars and be able to do that for a living, like create a business out of motorsports and racing cars, and kind of reconstruct my brand from just a bikini model, Instagram model, to the race car driver that I am, and have people see that and create a business from that, and I get to do what I love. So that's probably my biggest dream. So yeah, I just wanted to share this story with you guys on how I started racing, why I stopped racing, kind of all the struggles and hardships I've gone through with it. I I'm really excited that I'm gonna be getting back into driving, and I hope you guys follow me along through that journey. And yeah, I'm glad you guys are able to hear this story, and I wish I could have done it sooner, but now that I actually have racing opportunities coming up, I feel like I can finally share this with you. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and follow me along because I will be posting more car videos, racing content, and don't worry, I'll still be the same old Lindsay, just with more cars. But yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing day.